Hey there. Now, do you feel frustrated with all of this mindset stuff? You've done the trainings, you've worked with the goal achievement people, you've followed the steps, you've done all of that mindset stuff, you've created your vision, you're connecting with it. You maybe you've even put together a vision board and you're following all the steps, right? Do you get frustrated that you're putting in all the work and you're still not getting the results? It still feels like effort. You still feel stuck. So frustrating, right? Especially when you look around and you can see other people who are doing the things and it's working for them. Well, I've got some great news for you. If that resonates with you, there is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. What it is that there is actually a key missing ingredient in this mindset stuff and getting the vision and the vision board to work for you. And if we don't have that missing ingredient in place, we just keep butting up against a wall and we stay in the same place. And it's not a lot of fun. So if you'd like to fix that, you are so in the right place. I have the amazing Rileagh Chase with me today, and we are going to be talking about how to really get your vision board working for you. Finally, what is that missing ingredient and how can you actually put that in place? So I'm very excited to speak with Rileagh. Hi there, Rileagh. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Anna, and I'm so happy to be with you, and I'm excited about this topic. Like you know, it's very close to my heart, and
Yeah.
here.
Absolutely life-changing, right? So just before we dive in, I just want to say to everyone who's with us live, thank you so much for joining us. I can see there are people joining us already. Great to have you here. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're joining from. And as we go through, if you have any nuggets, drop those as well. And as always, if you love what we're sharing and you know anyone else who'd benefit, feel free to sprinkle that love around the internet. Now, before we go any further, just in case we haven't met before, for those of you joining live or those listening on the replay, I'm Anna McKinley, and my passion in life is helping women who are running their own businesses from home to have that business that supports your lifestyle so that you can achieve your goals in your business, have the impact that you want to have, while preserving your sanity, having great relationships, having the health and well-being, having the time for you. It is possible to have that balance, but we've got to have great tools in our toolkit, which is why I'm so excited about today's topic. So make sure you stick through to the end. We're sharing lots of nuggets and lots of great things, and I know that Rileagh has something coming up as well that may just help you slot that missing ingredient into place. So stick around with us. Just so that you know as well, because we're covering a lot, I will be making show notes available. Drop below if you'd like a copy, just let me know, and we'll get those to you as well so that you can focus on just absorbing all the goodness. All right, so shall we dive in? Yeah. Let's do it. Now, Rileagh, thanks so much for making the time to speak with us as well. I know this topic is dear to you, but really to get us started, I'd love it if you could tell us a bit about your own journey. I mean, how did you learn about the power of goals, and in particular about the power of having a great vision and all the tools around that?
It's really interesting. I was lucky enough to have. It's going to sound funny. I was lucky enough to have parents that sold Amway, and part of what they did in selling was all this kind of goal setting, and achievement. So they would give their salespeople tapes and all this stuff that we drove a lot in my family, that my dad would listen to these tapes all the time. So I think I was indoctrinated into goal setting and vision boarding before I even knew it, because it was constantly like what we listened to in the vehicle, in the car. And I was constantly hearing people I don't even, like, I couldn't list names, but quite famous people at the time, about how to set goals and how to achieve, and going for it. So I think it was really goal setting. The power of goal setting and vision boarding came to me from a very young age, and my mother, being who she is, a very open theologian, in a way, very open to all things. She taught me at a very young age to see people healed, people. She was 4 units away from being a holistic uh, doctor, and but she decided to be a music teacher instead. Yeah, like, but she taught me very young to visualize people whole and healthy, and so and it was working. As a child, it was working. Like, I could visualize animals being healthy, and all of a sudden they got better. And somewhere from about my teenage years on, I lost that ability. I wasn't as good as when I was young, and I never understood what happened. Was it just kids are better at it, or or um, or what? And it wasn't until later where I figured out, no, there was something happening here that was limiting my ability to do stuff because of time. From a very early age, I've been in vision boarding, and I've always known the power. So it was really frustrating when I hit my teenage years and things stopped working. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, it must have been. And I have to say, as a parent myself, I'm sitting here thinking that's a real testimony to the influence of how we just show up in our day to day when we're around our kids and how impactful that can be on them, right? So there's something there for us just to be aware of, I suppose. And it is interesting that as we grow into adulthood, stuff happens. So it must have been incredibly frustrating to lose your mojo in that way. What helped you come back to it?
What helped me get back?
Yeah.
Broke up a little bit. You know, it wasn't until so about 15 years of searching, watching all the Wayne Dyer things, all the Abraham Hicks, all these, every manifestation book, every um, everything I could get on The Secret, you name it. I was just eating it up, going, I know this works because I've seen it work. It's worked before. Why is this not working now? And so it was all of that. But what I realized somewhere in my 30s, early 30s, was there was some emotional stuff going on for me that was blocking me. And so it was a self awareness that this was that missing piece, right? That I had to do some stuff inside with my emotions and my thoughts, um, because I couldn't even think past. And this was a time where I had the worst anxiety of my life, to the point that when I was driving, my hands would go numb on the steering wheel, just go numb. And I could do all the perfect manifestation in the world, but the problem was the tape in my head was just eating all that stuff away. And uh, I had even one day just been, that's it. I'd stacked up like years worth of vision boarding stuff. I'd stacked it up. I was like, that's it. I'm going to create my vision board, which was massive. I cut out all these pictures. I sat down on the floor of my living room, and just, it ended up being feet by 3 feet tall, this massive collage of what I wanted in my life. And I think that was the first moment of, holy cow, I do want something. Holy cow,
Wow.
this was the first step of what I was looking for. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that was the first moment that I realized there was a lot that I wanted, and there was a piece that was missing, and the awareness that my anxiety was stopping me.
Right. So can you unpack that for us? I find it really interesting. And I'm just going to mention this because I suspect that this will resonate with a lot of people, which is that I know that this stuff works. I've seen it work. I've listened to all of the experts and the gurus and the Wayne Dyers and the mindset coaches and all of these people, and they're all really saying the same thing. Get clear on what you want and really focus on it. And vision boards is a great tool to do that. And you went, yeah, that's great, and collected up all this stuff to put in your vision board, but you hadn't actually stepped over the line and put it together. I find that really fascinating that something was keeping you stuck. And you're talking about that it was that anxiety piece. And then things had to get to a certain point to be bad enough for you to go, I've just got to give this a shot and make the time. Is that a fair recap?
Yes, that was a great recap. Absolutely. It was that, definitely that realization that it was very easy, especially in that point of anxiety, to go, it's not me, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it's just that this tool
Yeah.
is broken, and the people who say it works, oh, they're just telling a story. It must be something else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, make it an external thing. So what was it? Was there anything in particular that made you realize that actually I've got to give this a try? What if there is something I can control and I've got to give this a try? What was it that shifted you?
It was a couple of things. I wasn't able to function. The anxiety got so bad anyway that I wasn't fully able to function. I felt, and I was so constantly worried of everything. Like I was felt like, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, but they're not really there. There are no lions and tigers and bears. Um, and so it was, I really sat down to do some hardcore work on me. And I said, uh, you know, I'm gonna I'm really going to sit down for 1 month, 30 days. I brought out a little calendar and the whole thing, and really look at what I can do to knock out this anxiety. What can I do? Because I do know the power of the brain. I do know all the research. I studied neurology for fun, but to help myself make the changes that I wanted to rewire what I had wired in for years. I had wired in this anxiety, so I was trying to rewire in a short period of time. I I said that, and I had also made the deal with myself. If this 30 days didn't work and I was still having really, really bad anxiety, I would go ahead and see a doctor. I made a deal with myself. But I don't, being who I am, I'm not a fan for me, with my mother being a holistic doctor, of putting chemicals in your
Mhm.
body. Um, and also I knew that there are, signs that when you put those chemicals in your body, the manifestation that you're trying to do is a slower process, because it's like a little cap over your
Ah,
feelings and emotions. So when you cap them, it's harder to manifest, right? You have to get through the cap, and you have to really have strong feelings to do that. So I there was like this, all right, I'm going to give it one solid big try. And then if nothing else, then yeah, then maybe this process isn't right for me.
yeah.
And maybe I do need to go this route. And so I gave it this 30 days where every day I did sit in front of my vision board, but there was also every day working at just releasing this anxiety bit by bit and taking control back over my mind and my body to own my space and find my own joy inside and release that anxiety. And it was, I always make the joke that 15 days in, halfway through this process, I had my first 15 minutes of no anxiety, and I
Wow.
about like flipped out and had anxiety over not having anxiety. So like it is a full body and mind thing that we're working with,
Yeah.
because your body goes, wait, I'm not used to not having all these, adrenaline chemicals rolling around. What's
Yeah.
going on? So, and it sends messages back up to the brain. So I'm not saying this is an easy process, but it was a very difficult process. It happened after I did those 30 days. And I did get to a place where I would say natural anxiety, where you're supposed to have anxiety in your life. You're supposed to be able to run from things when you need to. You have natural anxiety. But I had no more of the 24 hours a day anxiety, where I felt like I was having a heart attack at times. And my hands weren't going numb on the steering wheel when I was just thinking about things. So very, very different pace. And then after that, my world just opened. Things that were happening on the vision board. I got a phone call from a person I was working with and said, hey, we want you to write this course and fly around the world. Well, on my vision board, I said I wanted to coach and teach around the world other coaches and have the world be my daughter's classroom. And I just remember that phone call after doing all this and sitting there. It took about 3 months after the releasing the anxiety, but getting that phone call and just being, are you serious? It's working again. It was like no effort except for looking at my vision board every day in a meditative state. It was like, I'm feeling good about it.
It's the thing is, it's so simple once we clear things right. I was just going to say, it's such a simple process. I would love in a moment to ask you just to walk us through the steps in a bit more detail that you took, because what you're sharing is that there were two parallel things. Yes, the visualization board, but that actually the key ingredient was getting into the right emotional state. And I love that we're having this conversation right now, because anxiety has gone up so much in the last few years, and for obvious and understandable reasons, right? But Joe Dispenza shared something similar to what you shared, that we almost get physically addicted to anxiety so that we become stuck, and that we need to have the right kind of tools and the discipline, the support, whatever, to help us break that addiction. So it's not like just flicking a switch. Our body is so used to that state. So you get into that 24-hour, oh my goodness, I could die any minute, just tense all the time. And that's killing us. It's killing so many people. And from what we're talking about today, it's also blocking off our ability to tap into that wider creative manifestational power that we actually all naturally have access to when we're not cutting off the flow. Does that resonate? Yeah. So there's really two pieces to this that I would love if you could unpack a bit more. And I think maybe the first one is, how does one, if one is feeling in a state of anxiety or of fear, or that kind of blocked state, what are some tips that you can share from what you've learned that can help people get unstuck, that can help people do that reprogramming? Could you hear that?
I missed that last bit, so I was like, "Oh dear, sorry about that." I missed that.
And everyone watching, we have had some slight issues with the sound today, so we're letting go of anxiety and we're going with the flow. So my question was, what tips can you share with those who are watching to be able to actually dial down that anxiety so they can be in a more creative emotional state?
I think I'm going to try to repeat that because it is, and I apologize, it is a broken signal, and we are doing this from a very far distance. So, and I am on my boat sailing around the world because that was part of my vision board too. So, and so I think what you said is how do we dial down our own emotions to be able to open up our vision board?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So some tips on doing that. one of the tips I would recommend is definitely learning to do your gratitude list, both morning and night. It uh, seems kind of simple, but if you're in a very anxiety state, which most people after the pandemic and coming out of that, we had a whole lot of time to worry. We had a whole lot of time to feed those, the very emotional center of our brain to think in this hyper anxiety or sad way. And so one of the things we can do is recenter to, help us focus. And that very simply is gratitudes in the morning. My recommendation is always do your best to feel it and write it in a meaningful way. Okay, write it that it means, and make a list, at least 10 things. But if you can do 10 minutes, even better, but at least 10 things morning and night. That's one tip. The other thing is catch yourself through your day and what you're feeling, and work on some releasing of whatever that is. This is difficult. I'll just say, having done it myself, it really takes some strong accountability for yourself. That is where I was lucky enough to have a coach. Even though this was something I wrote, I could work through the process with somebody. So this is a very helpful thing to do, to have some sort of accountability. Those are the two major tips that I would do.
Yeah.
Just to kick off.
Yeah. And for those watching, I mean, we've all heard the power of gratitude and what we appreciates and all that stuff, that we become almost inured to it. We stop hearing it. But this is one of the most powerful settings. And I'm just thinking back in my own experience. We've all had ups and downs. And when I was in a bottomed out state, gratitude on my list was stuff that was like, really like, I'm grateful that I have lots of air to breathe. I'm so grateful that I could turn on the tap and water comes out. This really basic stuff. It doesn't matter. It's what helps us to actually be in that emotional state, right? You talked about really connecting with it and giving meaning to those things. So it's not just writing the words out, it's writing it out and feeling into it. Is that right?
Yes, and you want to, if you can, actually handwrite it and not type it, because we know neurologically when we handwrite, we use both hemispheres of our brain much more than actually we do typing, even though we're using both hemispheres. But this puts it together in a new way for your brain, which actually helps you learn and feel it more strongly. So handwriting, it doesn't have to be cursive, but handwriting is one of the best things you can do. And then, like you said, yes, that feeling it. And there were days, Anna, that like I had to go like really simple. I'm happy I do have 10 fingers. All right. If you don't have 10 fingers, be happy for the fingers you have. I say that all in love and kindness. I had a client I was teaching this to, and I said, happy you had all your fingers and the toes. She was missing a toe. So, be happy for what you do have. And start, happy if you have your sight, happy that you can smell if you can smell, happy you can hear if you can hear. Sometimes those very basic things can ground your gratitude, which of course you're happy for those things. And that can be very, very powerful. Sometimes we just have to start there. Yeah.
Build a solid foundation. That is absolutely fantastic. So you shared a couple of other things about how you related, how you were using your vision board. And just to recap, you shared, you were like, this hasn't been working for me. I'm just going to give it one more decent shot. And if after 30 days I'm seeing nothing, that's it. That's essentially where you were at. I've tried. I'm going to give this a really decent go. I'm committing to this process for 30 days. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Without that commitment, you're gonna linger, and you have to make that dead fast. I'm gonna clear this space. I'm gonna do what I need during this time. And for me, of course, it was that I was fed up and I was done and I knew I needed help, but I could have done it sooner. I could have, had I had all the awareness or somebody to point this out, but I had to get to that point. Like, I am doing this for 30 days. This is my last resort before I go see a doctor. And that commitment drove me to do it for 30 days. And it's 30 days. Anybody can do anything for 30 days. Anybody can. But without the commitment to do it, you won't. You just won't. So, yeah, if you're going to do this process and you want manifestation to work, you do have to clear yourself out. So you have to commit to clearing first. That's the key. So you can feel, because feeling, emotion, energy in motion, you have to get to that place where you can actually clearly feel what you want and what you're going for. And you can't do that with anxiety, or you can't do that with depression.
Yeah.
They're blocking you.
Yeah. So the missing ingredient is the emotional alignment, is clearing the emotions that are blocking our receptivity and moving into that emotional state that's open to receiving. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to recap those tips that you've shared with people, gratitude, 10 things on your list or 10 minutes at each end of the day, and commitment to engaging with your vision board from an emotional state that's connected with your vision board, and doing that each day. And on the emotional piece as well, just being aware and checking in with, where am I emotionally during the day? Just checking in. How am I feeling? And reframing it. And yeah, I've been there as well. All of this does take commitment and having the support around us, but it does work. And anyone can do this when we choose to back ourselves, right? It's like the ultimate in self-love. Can you please tell us just a little bit more, because you mentioned that it wasn't just about clearing out the anxiety and the emotions that were keeping you stuck. When you're sitting looking at your vision board, you talked about things you were doing around the emotions there as well. Can you unpack that a little bit?
So I think you asked when look the process I was doing on the vision board. What process?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am an advocate for needing proof. I know. So I always laugh, because here I am, this little person that knows how to manifest and do it, but due to that long period of time of not being able to manifest and do things, I look for proof. And so let me reach in. Oh no, I do have it. Let me pull it out. I used a device from the Heart Math Institute that measures what we call coherence. So it's this, they have Bluetooth, but back then when I started, it wasn't Bluetooth. And so it clips on your ear, oops, like that. And then you can just do that, and you turn it on, and it Bluetooths to your phone and balance. And as you get to what you call it, your more of your right hemisphere of your brain. Sorry, I was rubbing my left there, but your right hemisphere of your brain, you actually engage the heart neurons. You have neurons in several areas of your body, but you actually, as you think in pictures rather than in words, you use your heart neurons, and it creates, your heart has waves off your body as your brain has waves off your body. Okay, so these are picked up by an EEG scanner, and these are picked up by an EKG. right? And so we're looking for them to be, because that's when emotion can be measured off the actually on other tools outside up to 10 feet away with the equipment. So that we have now today, it's pretty amazing stuff. So I was looking for myself to go, okay, when am I in what they call the most meditative state, when my body and mind are most congruent? So I use that tool to help me measure. So I plug that in every morning, bright and early. I dedicated myself to getting up at either 4:30 or 5 in the morning to sit and have 10 to 20 minutes is where I started. That's all I could do at that time. But eventually it got up to a full hour throughout that year that I did this process, and just sat with my vision board in front of me, working on my breath, visualizing, connecting with my heart space, getting the right brain to connect to the heart. I say that that's not technically what happens, but that's how I visualize it. And just focusing the word love on my in my chest, and seeing the joy of everything true on my vision, right? But for some people, vision boards are kind of interesting, because if you're a visual person, vision boards work for you. But you may need something even more, right? You may need, sound of your vision board. Okay, you may be an auditory learner. You may need it to be more kinetic for you, like the feeling of it, body, emotion. I'm a little bit of the kinetic, so I would close my eyes after looking at the vision board, and I would go through the pictures and visualize in my head, and visualize the feeling of being wherever I wanted to be, the feeling of being really thin. I had weight issues back then, so the feeling of what it was like to move in a thin way. Like when I moved my arms, what did it feel? So I use a lot of feeling. If I were auditory, I might even put like a sound recording of being wherever I wanted to be at the beach. So I could visualize via my audio what it was like to be there. What did it sound like? And so you're using a lot of your imaginary, creative pictures in your head, which however you do it. Some people, it's smell. What does it smell like to have that perfect house and that perfect cup of coffee in your perfect house? So you smell, you're waking up in your bed, it's perfect bedroom, and you smell that coffee brewing downstairs. You're adding all these tangible facets into what you're looking for. And there you go, you move into it. And I think this is why children do better in manifestation than adults, because they're good at imagining.
Yeah. I was just thinking that, right? We're taught not to play and not to imagine and to be serious and to be responsible and all of that stuff. And it actually disconnects us from that. So if I can just do a little recap again, you've shared some really almost a formula for making our vision board successful. And one of the things that I love that you touched on is everybody is a bit different. So there is a little bit of experimenting and find what connects with you. Is it looking at the pictures? Is it bringing in the sound? Is it imagining the kinesthetic feeling of being in that experience? Is it bringing in the smells? Maybe it's a bit of everything, and using your imagination. And what is coming to me listening to you, and I share this a lot with clients, and they go, oh, yeah, that really helps, is it's almost like creating a future memory of already having experienced that outcome. And bringing in all of the elements of that in terms of our five senses, but also the emotion of it, how good it feels, the joy, the excitement, the freedom, whatever it might be. Is that a reasonable recap of it?
Yeah, that is exactly right. And you have to remember this key point, that your brain does not know the difference between what you imagine and what you actually see. What There has been research showing that people that imagined lifting dumbbells for an hour a day, 5 days a week, for 4 weeks, versus people who actually lifted dumbbells for an hour a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. The people that lifted the dumbbells, actual dumbbells, gained 30% muscle mass. The people that imagined lifting it gained 22% muscle mass. So when they put an MRI on people that were doing this while they were imagining, they also, and they did a full body scan, the muscles were triggering by the thought. So now I'm not saying give your gym membership up yet, okay? Because it's helpful to go to the gym and actually do the process. But that's only an 8% difference between visualization and actually lifting. So you have to ask yourself, like, however it is for you and doing this process, it is so powerful because your body thinks it's already happening, because your brain thinks it's already happening. Then when you're done, you're done. That was the other key I learned with my visualization. Like, okay, I have all these great feelings, but I'm done meditating, I'm going off, and I'm not going to dwell on it or worry about it or think, oh, it's not happening. Because the minute I bring that language in, I've cut it.
And that's something else I wanted to ask you about, right? Because you gave this a go for 30 days and you started seeing the first differences halfway through. So for 2 whole weeks, you were doing it with no noticeable change. After 15 days, you noticed, oh my goodness, my first 15 minutes without anxiety. And then the first boom, magical something appearing in your life without effort, that phone call you received, that happened 3 months after you started this process. So what I'm hearing, and this is so important for anybody who wants to achieve a goal, manifest their dreams, all of this stuff, is that being attached to the outcome and the timing, right? Being able to let go of it and trust that it's in process. Because as soon as we say it's not here, then that's what we're bringing in. Right? Do you want to expand on that a little bit and just share with us? Because I know that there were other things you manifested too. Can you share a bit more of what you experienced?
Yeah. I mean, one of the really great things about doing that process and just committing to the process, right? And even committing to doing a long-term vision board sitting long-term. That was a long-term thing versus the anxiety-free in 30 days. That was just an internal commitment that every day, no matter what time of day, I prefer to do it in the morning for the vision board, I was going to do it. But that was in itself its own reward, because I felt good after I did it. And that is where I could just celebrate that I did it, because the studies show, again, that when you do that kind of meditation, you're helping your body internally do some healing. You're de-stressing. All these pieces are valuable. So I could just go, I'm not going to worry about the outcome on my vision board. I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to worry about is the fact that I'm committing to this every day. And every day I do it, I'm going to celebrate that I did it. And that's my win. I wasn't going to look for anything else to happen. I just needed this win, that I did it, and I let go. And that helped me go, okay, no more attachment. Just do it. And I have these little things all through my life that when I visualized something and I went, okay, good, I did it. And I just stopped. That's when it was like, I told affectionately Anna you the story of me needing $500 at Christmas to buy Christmas gifts one year. And because I just didn't have the money at the time. And the next morning, or the next evening, sorry, 24 hours later, some friends that were staying with me, they went in to get into a bed, and the whole bed fell apart. And there was $800, but I gave it some, shared the wealth, and I took the $500 that I needed. But there was money that just appeared. No attachment to the way it happened. I just visualized that I had the money I needed to buy Christmas gifts, and then I let it go. I make it sound so easy. And then I let it go. I celebrated that I did it.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to let it go.
Yeah. And just for everyone listening in live or on the replay, remember this. This is fundamentally important to everything, right? It's celebrate the win of doing the process and completely let go of having to figure out how, or attachment on it has to show up in this kind of way or look a certain way or whatever, because that closes us off to all the possibilities of things just coming out of the blue. Just let the process be the win. Let the process be good enough and be completely unattached to how things are going to show up, and just trust in that. And the hard part around this, of course, is that that's the opposite of what we were all taught in school and what we've been taught by society, is that no. You have to be specific about exactly what you're going to do, what it looks like, what are the steps. You have to follow the correct process. And of course, that closes off all of the other opportunities, and it creates that stress because we're constantly in, well, I'm not there yet. So we've talked about how that actually keeps us stuck in, I'm not there yet. It's like tomorrow never comes, right? So thank you. That is a huge and powerful insight, Rileagh. Now, I'm just keeping an eye on the time as well, because we could keep talking about this for days and days and days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's come back. I know that you're doing some things around anxiety at the moment, because there's so much of that in the world. And I want to ask you about that. But before we do, what I would love to do right now is just a quick recap of some of the gems that we've covered, so that we can bring everything together. Like, if there is a adaptable formula that people can take and make their own, let's draw out some of those key pieces and that missing ingredient. And
so it cut out again, so I missed that end of that question. Could you repeat that?
I was just saying, I'm going to do a quick recap now, to bring things together.
Okay,
and then I'll just check with you if we're missing anything. How does that sound?
I think it sounds good. Not sure exactly what you said, but it sounds good.
For everyone listening, the internet is not entirely our friend today, so we're learning as we go with this process. So Rileagh has shared with us some super gems, and she's kind of been through in New Zealand we say you go through the ringer, you go through the tough things so that you can figure out what works. Rileagh's done that for us so that she can share what really works without us having to go to rock bottom. And one of the things that really came out at the start of our conversation is, why is it that young children actually are really good often at manifesting what they want, but then we grow out of it? And it comes down to that using the imagination, being open to the imagination and not shutting it down. In terms of what actually works for us to be able to manifest, we've all heard that actually being clear on our vision and doing things like using a vision board can help to supercharge our results, but often we don't get the results. And what Rileagh has shared with us is that the key piece there is we don't have the emotional element right. So when we're connecting with a vision board and we're looking at that vision, if we're not in an emotional state that's going to allow us to receive that stuff in, then it's just not going to work. And in particular, that feeling of anxiety, stress, depression, that shuts us off from being able to allow these things to come into our lives, or even taking the inspired action that will bring them into being. So that's a really key element. And one of the really interesting things is that when we're in that state of anxiety or depression, we can even keep ourselves from taking the action to start. Riley, it really struck me that you had collected all of these things to put into your vision board, and you'd been collecting them for years, and you had this great big pile of stuff, but you hadn't actually given yourself the permission to put that all together into a format that you could actually engage with the vision and create that vision for yourself. You'd held yourself back until things got so bad that something's just got to shift. I'm going to give this a go. Other pieces of the formula: committing on 2 dimensions. So committing on clearing out and letting go of that emotional stuff that's keeping us stuck, of the anxiety, of the negative stress, of the worrying, of the depression. And I know that sounds hard because it is challenging, because as Riley's shared, Joe Dispenza talks about this too, we get addicted to those chemicals. So it does take commitment, and it really helps if you can bring in some accountability and support. But Riley shared some really powerful tools: gratitude, preferably morning and night for 10 minutes, or even just focusing on 10 things that you can be grateful for. And they can be really basic things. It doesn't matter. Connecting into that feeling, handwriting it down, and connecting with those things that you can be grateful for. And that helps to dial down the anxiety. And the other one is being aware of how you're feeling through the day, so that if we get into a negative spiral, we can hopefully catch that before it becomes too embodied and adjust, so that we get good at noticing and letting go. And when we do that consistently, we can start to notice a difference very quickly. For Riley, it was going from totally anxious all the time to actually having periods of being anxiety free, like, wow, within a couple of weeks, which is very quick, and without any medication, which is even better. So that's the first stream. And the second part, of course, is actually engaging with the vision. And what we talked about there is, it's not just about looking at the pictures in the vision board, it's about connecting from a place of being led from our heart. Riley talked about heart coherence, which is a really powerful tool of putting our attention and our breath into our heart space, focusing on emotions like love, and allowing ourselves to get into that energy. And so that we're out of the, and we're bringing our nervous system, our heart, and our brain into coherence. And when we're in that state, then we're ready to receive. And we talked about connecting with that vision board visually, but also in whatever way engages you the most. So it might be looking at the pictures, it might be closing your eyes and imagining the experience. It could be listening to sounds that trigger it and reinforce the vision. It could be imagining the smells, the tastes, and all of that stuff, creating a future memory. And when we bring those two pieces together, the emotional resilience piece and really connecting with our vision board and doing it, and here was the real commitment thing, consistently. So Riley, you started with about 10 minutes a day in the morning, is that right?
Yes, I started with 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, I said 10. It actually started like 5, because I didn't want to ever disappoint myself with that little tool. And there are settings on that tool as well. And I started off on the lowest settings. The whole point of that was to feel good for what I was doing and celebrate that I did it. So I set it up to be the most successful I can, the lowest level at first, 5 to 10 minutes. If I could do longer, I would, because it gives you a little green light when you get there, when you're in coherence. And I would hold that coherence as long as I could, and then turn it off. And if I was having a harder day where I wasn't in that really relaxed, coherent space, I just, before I got off, I had to get it to one green dot one time, at least once, and I could celebrate that, because that was the state I was in as I started. Like I chose to look for and allow myself to celebrate the tiniest wins, no matter what they were. So when I could get to that state, I was going to grab it.
Fantastic. And that's something, again, that's so powerful. I think it's more important now than ever before, which is setting yourself up for success by making it as easy and achievable as possible. This is not a time for stretch goals and get way outside our comfort zone. It's a time for bringing it in and setting yourself up so that you can collect the win. So making it really easy. What is achievable for me where I'm at right now? And another key part of what you were saying there, Rileagh, which is so important for everyone watching this, live or on the replay, dial this in. Just doing the thing is the win. Just showing up for yourself is the win. And everything else is icing on the cake. So it's actually about letting go of where's my stuff, right? When's it going to show up? Because that actually pushes it away from you. Letting go of attachment to the outcome, the manifestation, how it's going to happen, and just letting that, showing up for yourself, committing to your vision, engaging with your vision, letting that be the win, and making it as easy as you need to make it so you can actually do it. So there's lots of beautiful gems there. And really, if you can start even small and bring some of those things into your life, I guarantee you things are going to shift. Riley's shared some of her stories. I've played with this a lot over the years, and it is incredible how things just show up. Clients, holidays. I've manifested things for my family, for people I love who needed shifts in their lives. And we need to be careful about that because they need to be receptive. But I've been able to line things up so that they could go in the highest good of everyone involved. So these tools are super, super powerful. I hope that what we've shared has really engaged. Now, Rileagh, you have, speaking of releasing anxiety so we can actually get on and engage with our visions and our vision boards, you have something coming up right now, right? Would you like to tell us about that? Would you like to tell us about the program you have coming up?
Yes. So I do have a program set up that to help you clear this space. It does work for depression as well, but mainly it's set up for what I dealt with, the anxiety. And that being said, if you're seeing a doctor or you're already taking medication of some sort, this can work. It just takes more time. I have worked with many clients on, it just takes about twice as long depending on the medication people are on. But do consult your doctor if you do try to take this course before, if you're already seeing a doctor. If you are like me and you just want to take the course, it is the exact steps that I followed for anxiety free in 30 days. And so it's a day by day. You get a course every day, just a couple minutes every day to start your day and what you're going to do that day to help you be anxiety free. And of course, it's set up that if you need to contact me and set up coaching, of course, that's an add-on. And for just watching this video, I'm going to give you $99 off of it so that I can help you get started on letting 2023 be the year for you. So I'm here to help you out and do that. And I know from my experience, this was the key. And so I'm giving you exactly a full self-paced course for you online to help you be anxiety-free in 30 days.
Let 2023 be the year in which you let that stuff go and actually come back into a place of being able to love yourself and allow in all of the things that you can have in your life and all of those things you want in your life and just be able to live. Can you imagine being able to live consistently in an anxiety-free state, regardless of all the stuff going on in the world, right? This is so powerful. So thank you so much. And so that's the price is in British pounds, I understand. And so it's £99 off, which is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that for everyone. I've just popped up, there's the URL if you want to sign up for the course. And there is, to get the discount, it's that code Fix Your Vision to be able to enjoy that.
Perfect. Thank
now
you.
that's available to get that benefit. You need to sign up by the 1st of March as well. Just bear that in mind. So awesome. That's very, very exciting. And now, of course, you might also just want to know a little bit more about Rileagh. And if you do want to know how to connect with her, I'll just pop up. You can connect with Rileagh through her website as well, which is up there.
Yes, thank you.
So, wow, what a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of these gems. I know that everyone watching live or on the replay has gotten a lot of nuggets, so that's fantastic. For those of you watching, do let us know what has struck you the most, what you found the most useful. Would love that. And as I said at the start, if you know anyone else who is either feeling stuck and struggling to get that dang vision board to work, why doesn't this work for me? Or people who are actually feeling in that space of stuck in anxiety, feel free to share this with them, because hopefully it will give them some benefit as well. And the bottom line is, even just knowing that it's not just us is huge, right? It's not that I'm broken. Other people are experiencing this, and there are things that we can do. So thank you so much. I will just recap before we finish off today. So we covered a lot. And so if you would like to have access to the show notes so that you can come back to the key points in your own time, let me know. I'll get you a copy of those. And also, if you would like to, like to be notified, I'd like me to let you know when we're doing other calls like this. I love bringing people like Rileagh who have lots of great nuggets that can help you improve your life and accomplish what you want and the lifestyle you want. So if you'd like to know about future conversations like this, again, let me know. Message me or drop a comment, and I will make sure that you get that notification. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Rileagh. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter what's going on in the internet, we can prevail, right? 100%. We can do it.
Yep. It's the way sometimes the waves go.
and it's going with the flow and being unattached to the outcome. Yeah.
Yep. Great example.
100%. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time.